Hi everyone, I am Dr. Saurabh Sonwani, an early career representative of iLEAPS and the convener of this program. With me are co-conveners Dr. Pallavi Saxena, a scientific steering committee member of iLEAPS, and Dr. Samina Shamsuddin, IPO at iLEAPS. We welcome you all to our first episode of Drive with iLEAPS on the Wheel of Science, a global interview series. Today, our guest is Professor VK Sharma. However, before introducing him, I would like to say a few words about iLEAPS. iLEAPS stands for Integrated Land, Ecosystem, Atmosphere Process Study. It is a global research project of Future Earth. It seeks to provide an understanding about how interacting physical, chemical, and biological processes transport and transform energy and matters through the land-atmosphere interface. Like other Future Earth Global Research Project, iLEAPS is a network to link iLEAPS scientists to key societal challenges related to health, biodiversity, climate, food, and fuel securities, and ultimately to the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. It promotes scientific excellence through developing international science initiatives that are multidisciplinary through bringing together the modeling community with satellite, experimental and field observational expert, and through enabling communication and networking across the international science community. It facilitates this initiative by acting as a communication hub and coordinator of worldwide scientific research in the field of ecosystem atmosphere exchange and the impact of those exchanges on key societal issues. Another very important initiative of iLEAPS is promotion of leadership in science through capacity building in developing countries, as well as through their early career researchers network by hosting workshops ensuring timely and relevant science to be available through their website and training programs. Recently, we conducted Earth and Environment Day Series 2021-22 targeting South Asia, iLEAPS Live Conference 2022, iLEAPS OS Flux Conference 2023. We have successfully conducted a Global Curriculum Series 2022. So as we know that there are several challenges faced by researchers in different fields of science and technology, a motivation is always required to drive the enthusiasm to carry forward the research. The key to motivation is to follow the footstep and journey of renowned esteemed researchers and academicians that help to set a remarkable goal. This understanding has been behind this program to provide researchers, especially the early career researcher, an opportunity to imbibe knowledge, inspiration, and zeal to conduct their research in a direction that is fruitful for their benefit and welfare of the society. So with this brief introduction of iLEAPS, it is time to start our program with our guest, Professor VK Sharma, who has had a remarkable journey in the field of climate change, disaster risk reduction, and environmental sustainability. So here I would like to request Dr. Samina to introduce Professor VK Sharma. Dr. Samina, over to you.
Thank you, Saurabh. It's a pleasure to introduce Professor to this program. Thank you. So when Saurabh told me that our first guest is Professor VK Sharma in this program, I did a little bit of research about him, and I think I would need all the time to explain about his achievements. But thank you, Saurabh, for giving me the short CV about him, which I would really love to read it here. So Professor Sharma is a senior professor of disaster management and a consultant at Indian Institute of Public Administration, vice chairman of Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority, Government of Sikkim. He was a member of UN ISDR, Asia Science and Technology Academic Advisory Group from 2015 to 2019. He's a member of Committee for Framing National Science, Technology and Innovation Policy 2020 of Government of India. He's the chairman subgroup on capacity development. And he is a recipient of Subhash Chandra Bose Apta Pradhan National Award in 2022 and recipient of Paul Appleby Award for Public Administration in 2017. But looking back to his career a little bit, we need to give a short introduction about his education and his professional qualifications, achievements. Professor Sharma started his career from DAV College, Muzaffarnagar, Meerut University, and served in a number of universities in India, Middle East, and USA before joining in the Indian Institute of Public Administration in 1992. He was instrumental in setting up National Center for Disaster Management at IIPA, which is now National Institute of Disaster Management under Ministry of Foreign Government of India. He is member of Executive Committee of Sphere India, which is a network of NGOs and UN organizations working in disaster management. He is visiting professor of Kyoto University, Japan, and many other universities and training from academic institutions in India and abroad. He has published more than 75 research papers and 15 books in area of environment and disaster management. He is member of several important committees of National Disaster Management Authority in India. So with that, I really welcome Professor Sharma to this program. And I'm so glad, Saurabh and Pallavi, you found the most prestigious person to start this program with. So let's just start the program. Thank you.
Thank you, Sumina. Good evening, Professor Sharma. So let's begin with the interview. So my first question is associated with your education and career path. So please brief us about your education, career path, and collaboration that help you to foster opportunity for scientific community in environmental sustainability, climate, and disaster risk reduction. So that is our first question.
Thank you, Dr. Saurabh and Madam Miss Samira. I can see a very bright, young scientist, Dr. Pallavi from Delhi University, and other listeners, ladies and gentlemen. My privilege, I'm honored that iLEAPS, their first interview, they are starting with me. I'm so glad that this kind of series, they have started. Definitely, not me, but I think the people who will be coming, who will be interviewed, they will certainly motivate, young scientists, and they will definitely give, some solutions or some, sort of suggestions, which is really needed to this young generation. And secondly, the topic, which they have selected, that is, very, very appropriate. And I compliment, this initiative. And then I start with the question. And a very, very interesting question asked by Dr. Saurabh, and about my education, actually. I belong to a very small village. And I never thought that I will be here in Delhi and I will be doing this kind of work. I belong to a very small place in Uttar Pradesh, and in those days, actually, after freedom, our independence, actually, the resources were very little, and in villages, and particularly my village, there was no electricity, there was no even high school, there was no higher education or anything, So we started our journey from that place. And then even for high school and intermediate, we used to come for 3 kilometers and attending schools. And we were not knowing what to do, actually, what will be our fate and what will be our journey and what is our aim, actually, why we are studying. And the only thing is that in case you know a little bit more and your parents feel that you are bright or you may be a good student, then they will ask you to take science. And otherwise you take arts or commerce or any other. I mean, those days, this was the criteria. It was not just, subject by choice of a student or something. Our parents used to suggest ki bhai, in case you are good, you take science. And in case you pass your class, then you go ahead. And same thing happened with me, and I completed my intermediate. Then the question was that what to do after intermediate, after 10+2. And then because the college was available in the city, so I came to city and I did my graduation. I did my post-graduation. And luckily, I got a fellowship, so I got admission in Banaras Hindu University. And those days, nobody was knowing about ecology, environment. And I'm talking about 68. I finished my MSc Masters in 68. And then I did my PhD from Banaras Hindu University, and that was in forest ecology. That was the beginning of knowing environment, knowing, biosphere. And luckily, I was part of Man and the Biosphere program of United Nations. So that was another exposure. And I was part of the International Biological Program, which is giving productivity of different ecosystems. And I was part of it, and I did some work in forest ecology. In dry deciduous forest, and try to evaluate, that how much is productivity. And the thing which is known today to young scientists, that our forests are least productive, and they are open forest, there is no thick forest here, and all these issues. So I was knowing all these environmental issues in 1968, and I think that was the eye-opener, that in this country where there were forest-dominated area, where we have Himalaya, where we have Western Ghats, and we have this kind of forest, open forest, deciduous forest. And so I think that was a very good beginning. And my actually education in Banaras Hindu University, that was the base. And that create interest in me about ecology, environment, and all these issues. As far as my career path is there, again, there is a very interesting thing, because those days nobody was taking, there was no environment in any university. And after PhD, people are supposed to do teaching. So where to teach? So ultimately, I joined university, and I joined, botany department, and I was teaching other botany subject. And there was one paper of ecology, so I was teaching that also. But there was a frustration actually that I should do something very creative or in my own specialization, and that's how I joined, Delaware State University in United States, and did some research work, for several summers. And then fortunately, I got selected, in Middle East for teaching. And I taught in a number of universities in Middle East. I was in Iraq for some time. I was in Libya, and all these countries, because they were having ecology, environment as a subject actually, and they were giving master's degree in this thing. So I was teaching. I was very happy that the knowledge which I gained, that is being disseminated, and so that was the career interesting thing in my career, that in my own country, I, couldn't use the knowledge, which I gained. But when I see other countries, every country was having environment as a subject, and even the small country and developing country, I should say, they were having master's degree, So that was something exciting. And that way, my interest in the subject in Middle East, there are hardly 3-4 students in the class, so you can focus more on a student, and you can make their career, you can make them interested, in some of the issues, and so on and so forth. But 1990, when there was this Gulf War, we came back to this country. And again, fortunately, I got a position in Indian Institute of Public Administration. And Indian Institute of Public Administration is a premier institution of the country, where we give training to the senior bureaucrats. And this was again a very good opportunity for me, that because in bureaucracy, environment and development, I think in case we can communicate that, then there will be a very important change. Again, I will say that because I joined in 92 in IIPA, and that time Brundtland Commission report, United Nations Commission on Environment and Development. So I could disseminate the knowledge which is there given by Mrs. Brundtland, and that was having these issues like global warming, ozone depletion, land salination, deforestation, all these environmental issues, biodiversity, etc. So I think that was a plus point, that I was at the right place. I started some module, for IAS officers on management of natural resources and environment, on environmental issues, on climate change, and so on and so forth. Then I got another opportunity that United Nations, they declared that decade as IDNDR, International Decade for Natural Disaster Reduction. And then in IDNDR, all developing countries and developed countries, they were thinking that there should be focus on disaster preparedness and mitigation, not on relief. Otherwise, in India or in developing country, any developing country, South Asia, our focus was on relief. And we were having this subject in Ministry of Agriculture, and we are also doing similar thing. But that workshop, which was organized by Indian Institute of Public Administration, that became landmark. And then we initiated a national, to make a national center for disaster management. And that's how the science of disaster management started. And then it went to universities. And now I'm very happy to convey and to tell you that the chairperson of UGC, University Grant Commission, he wrote a letter to all universities of India that they should have disaster risk reduction in their syllabus. So I think today every university is thinking, about 25 universities are giving degrees in disaster management. So I think now the things are changing, and I feel so happy that the small thing which we started from Indian Institute of Public Administration, now it is a big thing. And in the whole country, India is, not in our country, but in whole Asia, India is taking lead actually in disaster preparedness, mitigation. And now this become anybody who understand environment, he or she understand what is relationship of environment and disaster risk reduction. So I think, Saurabh, you asked me about the collaboration, etc. So I think I started collaboration with all institutions who were working for Government of India or different states. I started collaboration with central universities and state universities. And I feel so satisfied that today, the efforts which we did, it's a very now subject where people are interested to know more and more. And disaster management, as I always say, that this is an ocean. I mean, it's a very big subject. And everybody can contribute. Everyone, maybe engineer, maybe science background, maybe social science, maybe economists. I think, and that I feel happy that this way the subject is propagating and getting, recognition. I think I answered your question. In case there is any part which is missed, I will just, cover that in next question.
In my opinion, this is a very perfect answer. So thanks for sharing the journey of your education and struggle for an education. That was quite motivating for the people, especially belong to villages or small towns. And I'm also very fortunate enough to interacting you in this platform, interacting with a successful alumnus of BHU, since I'm also one of the product of BHU. So that's quite fortunate for me. And it's also very encouraging to listen about your pioneer steps in the field of environment, ecology, and disaster management. And your global experience right from Middle East to Oceania, that is very quite encouraging for the researcher, especially early career researcher. And your experience related to the collaboration in different institute, whether it is related to the central government or state government, that was quite satisfying. So the another linked question to our previous question, some of the content you have already covered. So my second question is, as an expert of the field of climate change, resilience, disaster risk reduction, and sustainability, what is your contribution in the science? So this is my second question.
Actually, I never say and feel that I am expert, because as I told you that this subject is very vast. And I may be knowing little bit, because my background is environment, because my background is that I started working in disaster risk reduction. So I read, start with the history of, disaster management in India. Even before independence, when British time, when we were having famine code and we were governed, and we were having a system of relief distribution, etc. And then the aspect of the disaster management cycle, which were completely ignored. So I worked on capacity building actually. So capacity building was my forte. And I never thought that relief and because relief is there in our culture. If you see the Indian culture, if any neighbor or any person, who is affected, we used to help him or her. And so same thing is with our officers. In case something happened, they do their best. So relief was not my, subject. I was working on disaster preparedness. I was working on disaster mitigation. I was working on science and technology in disaster risk reduction, how science can play important role, how technology is important. And I think in this duration, I will say these 25 years, I was associated with each and every event. It may be the Disaster Management Act, it may be the National Policy on Disaster Management in 2009, it may be any committee which is important, for the subject. I am really fortunate that I was almost part of everything. The former Prime Minister, Shri Atal Bihari Vajpayee, he set up a high-powered committee on disaster management, and I was a member of that, which gave their report in 2-3 years. We had more than 45 meetings, and that contribution is, I should say it is a Bible on disaster risk reduction. And So I think as far as my contribution or this thing is concerned, I can say only one thing, that I was sticking to this point, that unless and until this subject, unless and until it is mainstream in every part of governance, unless and until it is part of our education, unless and until it is a part of each and every common man, we cannot achieve much. And same thing is climate change. Now you see that we are in the month of May, and today, I am in Noida, it is raining heavily. It is, cold temperature, which we never faced, in last 20 years. So I think climate change, there is no research required, even a common man, and they understand, what is going on. The only thing is that now the scientists or people like you and me, they should make a sort of, roadmap for everyone, for all stakeholders, not only in education, not only in science and technology, but a common man, how he or she can contribute in it. I think this is important, and on this we should work. This is my thinking. So I think, again, I will say that my contribution is that I could understand that how these things are related, how environment, climate change, which is earlier we were saying global warming, now climate change, now its impact on disaster risk. Because I know I'm teaching, to senior officers, and I tell them the vulnerability, which we are having in the country. We are having Himalaya, which is tallest tower of water resources, which is having 15,000 glaciers, which is having so many glacial lakes. I think we should know, what is the vulnerability of Himalaya, which is a young mountain, where every year there are landslides, forest fire, and all these things. And because of the climate change, all these things are increasing. The frequency is increasing, impact is increasing, and how we can contribute, how this can be part of governance, how, which we are saying mainstreaming of risk reduction. This is possible.
Thank you so much, sir, for a very satisfying answer. You are very happy that you are part of disaster management committee constituted by former Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee, and your contribution through capacity building program and policy related framework, and creating a baseline for disaster risk management in India is very much appreciated. And your suggestion for the people or researcher working in the field to prepare a roadmap for future, that's really great. And I hope all of us will consider this suggestion. So related to my previous question, another question is, can you please tell us about one of your greatest achievement or contribution to the society and science?
Actually, you ask, this is very relevant, I mean, very important question. And I always say that, we scientists, because I am also having science background. I was a member of the, the country has made science, technology, innovation policy. So I was member of that. I was chairman of the capacity building program. And I understand that science and technology, we have great knowledge, but I think demystifying, things like disaster management or climate change and disaster risk, in case we don't demystify this, in case we convey this in a very simple way, simple words, And in case we don't involve, every stakeholder in it, then I think we are not successful. Let me tell you my contribution. I am vice chairman of Sikkim State Disaster Management Authority. And in that state, in case you go there, you talk to, any sector of the society, our officers, so we have trained them, we have given them training, what is the disaster risk, how it is related with climate. It is a Himalayan state, so what is the vulnerability of the place, and how, what kind of preparedness is required. At the same time, we are working with the schools. We are making climate smart schools. We are giving them the education that how climate change, which is, the change is obvious, they are seeing it. So how it is changing and what change we can make in our lifestyle. And so I think involving everyone, even in disaster risk, it is not only, we don't have only state plan or district plan. You will be very happy to know that we have gone up to panchayat level. And even panchayats, the common people, they are involved in the process. This is a plus point. And this can be a contribution that I have a thinking that unless and until all stakeholders are not involved, then we cannot achieve the results, which we want to achieve.
Working with schools and Gram Panchayat, that is quite satisfying and very much appreciated. And I hope all of us must learn from this lesson. So that's really great to listen such ground level approach to tackle the very huge and disastrous issues. So my another question to you is, since you are having a very huge experience in the field, so what is your vision to see India in the field of climate change and sustainability by 2030 and 2047?
Very good question, Dr. Saurabh. And I think today I'm very happy that Honorable Prime Minister, after Paris Agreement in 2015, he took very, important decisions. And not only for this country, but for the entire globe. For example, that in 2015, you might be knowing that with France, India started this International Solar Alliance. And I'm very happy that many countries earlier, more than 60 countries were member of it, but I think today maybe much more. And so, I mean, the solar energy or non-conventional source of energy, which people were knowing that this is one alternative, but nobody was taking a sort of aggressive step, in this direction. So India took it. And you will be very happy to know that today, we can say proudly that we are progressing well, and we are reducing, our dependence on coal-based energy and all that. So this is one thing, which is very, very interesting, which is happening. Then all the climate change is now part of each and every sector, I should say. It may be water sector, water conservation. This is our national focus. Honorable Prime Minister has announced, this Amrit Sarovar program, in which, several thousand ponds, will be created. Now, Namami Gange program. So this is not only for Ganga. I think the NMCG is having focus for all rivers. Now we are talking about river management. So I think this is very important. then the glaciers and all these. So I think the country is thinking in a broader way. We are thinking of adaptation. We are thinking of, and you rightly said that 2030, because there are three things which are emerging, three things which are merging. One is the, Paris Agreement, which is saying that we want to achieve, this target by 2030. We have sustainable development goals. Again, the target is same. We have Sindai framework, which is again for 2015 to 2030. And I'm not saying that in SDGs and, because our system, we have many things which are state subject. We cannot force states, to do something. We can convince them. But I think slowly and slowly, India, almost every state will understand. Some states, they are doing marvelous job. I mean, you take Namami Gange, I'm not comparing that all states are same, but some states are doing excellent work in river protection and in cleaning river Ganga. And same thing is with all environmental parameter, climate change, disaster risk, because all these are state subject. And we cannot have, a sort of one benchmark for each and every state. But one positive thing is that everyone is working. Every state is doing some or the other unique thing. And the results are also coming. The scientists, they are visualizing that people are looking towards India now. And for the solution, people are looking towards us, and our scientists, our actions which we have taken, not only in energy sector, but in water conservation, but in urban planning, in this smart city program, etc. Whatever we are doing, some way or the other way, it is talking about, environmental management. It is talking about solid waste management. It is talking about sanitary, so all sewage treatment, about all. So I think you see the connectivity of all these programs which are launched. So I'm very happy that by 2030, may not be, we may achieve, the same target which we have fixed, but I think we will be very near to that. But 2050 or 2047, when India will be celebrating, centenary of our independence, and you guys will see that it is all together. Even today, I am feeling that we are in a new India. And yes, I can say with full confidence that we will be having environmental consciousness. We will be very conscious about our act. I'm very proud of saying that the program which is launched by Honorable Prime Minister Mission Life, I think in case it penetrate in the country in each and every one, in farmers, in students, in researchers, in case we understand our responsibility, then definitely climate change, disaster risk, I think 2047, India will be very strong country in comparison to others.
Thank you so much, sir, for sharing this things in relation to our future goal up to 2030 and 47. Yes, it is very important to reduce the usage of the coal, and that's why we need to target our renewable resources, as you said already. And yes, as you mentioned that India is working really hard with the Amrit Sarovar and Namami Gange related project, and recently launched Mission Life, and possibly the researcher of the Growing India must think about this, and they must actively participate into such kind of the program for fruitful results. So Now coming to the next question. So please put the light on Subhash Chandra Bose Apda Prabandhan Award for your remarkable contribution in disaster risk reduction. So that is another question.
Dr. Saurabh, I'm really feel honored. I'm humbled that the country and particularly our honorable Prime Minister awarded me the Subhash Chandra Bose Abda Prabandhan Award for 2022. I will say that any award is important for a person, and but I think this was a very special one. There are reasons for it. I got it from from Honorable Prime Minister, who is a very respected, not only in our own country, but throughout the globe, a very respected person, and the person who is having a full knowledge about disaster risk, who has knowledge of climate change and its relationship with disaster risk, who, when he was chief minister, I know that his contribution in disaster management, disaster risk reduction, that was enormous. So I think getting it from Honorable Prime Minister, this was very special. And then the second thing is that the award is in the name of Subhash Chandra Bose, who is our national hero, and anybody, any person of this country, we all worship, this person. So the award is in the name of Subhash Chandra Bose. So this is another, thing of, pride for me. But let me tell you one thing. I never thought that, that I will be getting this kind of national recognition, or, but I was doing work as a mission, actually. This was my mission, actually. When I started working in disaster risk, I tried to understand, from the beginning. This was not my subject. I never read disaster risk. I never read disaster management. I learned, slowly, and my interest was more and more, in the subject. And today, whatever I know, whatever little I know, I should say, is because of the experience, I gained during this year. And this recognition was a very pleasant surprise for me. And I will say that now I have more responsibility. In case the nation is giving this kind of recognition, then I think I should work more, in the subject, and I should see that it should gain, its importance in every sector. It may be education sector, it may be administration, it may be common life, and whatever we have learned from Japan, from United States, from other countries, we could implement, all these things. I am so honored, by this, and thank you very much that, you asked this question to me.
You are really true, sir. More recognition brings more responsibility. And we are also very happy for you, and like to congratulate you again for this great honor, especially if people are receiving any honor from our Honorable Prime Minister. So now we are just coming to our next question. What plan do you suggest in India for the development and progress of climate resilience and disaster risk reduction related to the academic and research level?
Actually, as I told you, that we have made a very good beginning, and we should be proud. Every Indian should be proud that Indian government is very conscious about these facts, that there is a climate change, we should do something. They are very conscious about disaster risk. And I think I'm very happily to tell you here that 15th Finance Commission, this disaster mitigation fund, which they have provided to the states and central government, I think this is a remarkable thing which has happened in this country. Today we have money, for risk mitigation, for disaster mitigation. Today we have money, there is a allocation from the Department of Science and Technology to almost every IIT. They are having several center of excellence in climate change. So I think science and technology, work is going on at different level. But my request is that all the institutions, because there are some local issues as well, and local issues can be solved locally. Suppose there are issues related to Delhi. So I think Delhi University is capable enough, they have a very good scientist here. And we should be proud of our scientists, who are present here. In case we utilize them, in case we give them. And let me tell you here that I heard that very soon there will be all the research grant, will be from a national body. And they will decide that what kind of research is required. And they will decide that which institution should be given what type. So I think that it's a very good approach. That otherwise, CSIR is giving funds, the ICMR is giving, ICAR is giving, FRI is giving. There are n number of institutions and lots of duplication. And so I think in research, this approach will be very good. In case we are having a central funding, in case we are knowing that suppose Dr. Saurabh is working in one area, then he should confine to that and he should be funded for that. So this is a very good step which is being taken by the government of India. And so this is about research. But I think the academic, already academia is very sensitive and they have good knowledge. But I will again say, I was recently in Delhi University and I was mentioning this thing that I think instead of giving big jargons and scientific knowledge, I think we should start writing in a simple words, maybe in newspapers, maybe I think I used to say it research communication. I think we should communicate to the common people that what are the issues and what can be done. I think this is my wish that our scientists, and we have great scientists, I have great regard for them, but I think their research is there in the journals, in the thesis, and which is confined to library and not going to common man. Now there are many issues which are coming, heat wave, cold wave, forest fire, this, that. So I think these solution of these things, I think are really needed, required. And I think, we can, these institutions or local institutions can solve the local problems. So this is my thinking.
Thank you so much, sir. The thing that local issue must be solved locally, that is a very good approach so that we can avoid the duplication and just to increase the focus of the people toward the issues. And yes, the effective communication is very much important, as you mentioned, especially at the local level and non-scientific people. So I hope we'll be working on it. So our next question is, what is your message for young scientists or researchers working in the field of sustainability, climate change, resilience, and disaster risk reduction? So, yeah.
Actually, as I mentioned, I have a great expectation from the young generation. And we are proud of our young generation, actually. I'm very hopeful because of 2-3 reasons. One reason is that they are seeing the change, because the change is very visible. Because climate change, and they know the consequences. They know and they understand that what are our strengths and weaknesses. We have a strength that we have good young generation, we have one weakness also that our population is also, we have 140 or maybe 142. We don't have an exact figure, but I think very high, population. And so I think in case we want to feed them, in case we want to have a good, urbanization, because people are coming to urban areas, so these are the issues, we understand very well that urbanization, which is 30% in 2050, definitely, more than 50% people will be in urban areas. And the requirement, is much more in urban areas. You need more resources, you need more water, you need more. So I think these issues are known to our young generation. And luckily, God has given us enough. If you see your natural resources, I think you have enough. But we have to manage it properly. Water, for example, in case every one of us is not involved in water conservation, I think this will be a bigger thing. And you are seeing it, now in South Africa, now you are seeing in Europe, in somewhere there is too much of water, there is flooding, this, that, and somewhere there is no water at all and people are. So I think the issues are known to us. This is a plus point. And my expectation is that this is not enough. Knowing is not enough. We should do something. And every family, as because now the literacy rate is also increasing. Now there is you can see a lot of women empowerment. You can see those things are changing. With this change, I think we should search, for new solutions. And then I think the climate change and its impact will not be, big issue, I should say. So I will say in one word that this young generation or young scientific generation, I think the entire dependability is on them. We all depend on them, actually. In case they understand the issues, not only environmental issues, other issues as social issues, economic issues, political issues. In case they don't understand properly, then I think our growth will be affected. And yes, I fully agree with you that environment is important. Knowing environment, knowing our environment, knowing our ecological system, this is important. And for sustainability, we should know that where we are lacking. So I am very glad that today there is hardly any university or institution which is not having environment, as a subject and or focus. And all the issues, issues related to agriculture, issues related to our, water conservation, our forestry, I think they are all known to the people. Now only the solutions are there, and in these solutions, young scientists will provide the right solution. So my expectation from young scientists that they should think about sustainability. Just the definition of sustainable development will not be enough. Sustainability is a very big word. Understanding sustainability is again a very difficult task. And understanding your own role in sustainability, that is again very important. So I think all these things, I will say that our young generation, they should think about this. And I'm seeing a very bright future of this country and of these young scientists. I'm really very optimistic. I'm very hopeful. And there is no reason that in 2050 or 2047, this country will be a developed country. As our Honorable Prime Minister already announced that after 25 years, we will be a developed country. So I think developed country in the sense that we keep our culture intact and we search for solutions. And because India is a unique country, actually. We have our own culture. We have our, so I think keeping our culture intact in case we do scientific science and technology and use science and technology, I think this country, nobody can match this country. We have a great future. You have a great future, Dr. Saurabh. So, I'm very, very optimistic about this thing, and I'm proud of my country. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for this great insight and great expectation from the young generation. And yes, as you mentioned that the term sustainability is not, the definition is not only the thing that we must understand, but there is a different domain and aspects that we must think about that, and we must work at the ground level also. So I hope people, the young generation are also listening you, and hopefully the message is already passed. So I think we have now done with our question and answer session. And now this platform is open to all the attendees. They may directly interact to Professor Sharma one by one by raising their hands. So I'll be moderating you all. So whomsoever having question, they may just raise their hand. Yes, Shaila, you are having question. Yes, you can just unmute yourself and you can directly talk.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Shaila.
Good evening, sir. Myself, Sayala Kasyam from Hindu College, Delhi University. I'm pursuing chemistry honors and currently in second year.
Welcome.
Sir, I have one question. Sir, in today's time, technology advancement is dominating and environment is deteriorating day by day. If we take example of Delhi, Delhi is a metropolitan city equipped with tech advancement, but at the same time, it is caught in the bad deterrent of environment. How do you think that some proposed model could provide support between these two, and what is your take up upon this?
Shaila, you have asked very good question, and it is very relevant, and we know that what is going on in Delhi. Let me tell you that in case you think solution, you will get the solution. I was hearing, Nitin Gadkari ji, who is our Honorable Minister for Surface Transport, and he told me that our Delhi's major problem is solid waste. And this solid waste he is using in making roads. Because you might be knowing that several 100,000, kilometer road, they have made in couple of years. And this process is going on every day, several kilometers. So they have reduced, this heap of solid waste and about 20 meter he was mentioning. I was hearing it 2-3 days back. And he was saying that our focus will be that this entire thing, how this waste can be converted into some use, and if not wealth, then of some use, because nothing is waste. And in case you are a person of chemistry, you know that nothing is waste actually. So I think the only thing is that how you use it. And in case you don't use it, then of course it is a waste. And we are seeing that in all corners of Delhi, there was heaps of, this solid waste. Similarly, the water quality, etc., all these things which are deteriorating, we have solution. In case we think, in case the the government, they think the solution, instead of making water is a very important resource. In case you make it free, in case you, then it will be waste of water. You have seen what has happened in Punjab, that water was given free to the farmers and now the land is saline. They are facing problem. They have destroyed their land. So I think the governance, I think there is a issue of policy, there is an issue of governance. And in case we have right solution, then definitely, the environmental solutions are there, and all these things may not be a problem, but there will be sustainability actually. And in smart city, I think this is the concept, that it is not only the technical thing in the city, but environmentally also, they should sustain, because every city otherwise it's going to bust. And so I think, Shaila, your point is valid, that science and technology is increasing, but we should use science and technology so that we can get sustainability. I think you want to say this, and I agree with you.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, sir.
Any more questions from participants? Either you can directly interact with the Professor Sharma, or you can just type your message in the chat box and I'll read for you.
Hello.
Yes, Sharma.
Hello, sir. Am I audible? Hello.
Yes, you are audible.
Loud and clear.
Yes. Okay. Hello, sir. First of all, it was very motivating learning about all the things that you have said and your vision for India regarding climate change. I am a very new researcher. I have just completed my doctorate last year, and I basically look into air pollution, and I also try to understand the linkage between air pollution and climate change. So for my postdoc, I'm planning to do something in the, like, some betterment in the transportation sector that would help the air quality and in turn also help climate change. So is there any suggestion that you would like to give me, like what does our country needs in the transportation sector, in the transport infrastructure, for a better air quality and to combat climate change in India?
Congratulations for your, you have completed your PhD, and your topic was also very important. And what you are thinking, I
Yes.
think this is again a very important topic. I will say that it is having relevance because your research will be part of the policy. Government is looking, for this kind of solution. We know that if in case you take carbon credit, or in case you see the, in case 20 years back when there was no metro or this thing, Delhi was, horrible. When I came to Delhi, I was, my throat was completely choked, and, it was a miserable situation. But metro could save us. So I think what you are working, that these pollutants, which is government is already having some action plan, and this action plan is,
Yes.
you might be knowing that more than 60, fast trains, etc. Connectivity is increasing, the road quality, there is a main emphasis, and so I think these things are reducing air pollution. But at the same time, your research because in transportation, I remember 1975, I visited United States, And I came to know that some Indian who was a civil engineer, he was working on surface transport, and he's collecting data that how many vehicles are passing on this thing and what will be the impact of noise on the community. So I was amazed, it was 70s, and they were thinking of this thing, that how community, how the noise pollution and air pollution will be having impact on community. But in India, we were not worried about all these things. But I am glad that people like you who are thinking that how this, what are the issues first, whether the number of vehicles or the type of vehicles or the type of pollution or the, the policy issue. So I think this, research will be having a lot of bearing, on our policy, local policy as well as national policy. And I wish you, all the best. And in case I can contribute, because I know that this is one subject which is very important, and it really needs research. Yeah.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Anybody else from participants? If anybody want to ask any question, they can raise their hand. Okay, I hope there is no more question. So thank you so much, Professor Sharma, sir, for being with us and sharing your enlightening and motivating experience. Now, I would like to invite Dr. Pallavi for her concluding remarks. Dr. Pallavi, over to you.
Thank you very much, sir, for sharing your wonderful journey in the field of academia and research, and your esteemed contributions in the field of DRR, disaster risk reduction and climate change. And I also thank you for accepting our invitation and taking time out from your busy schedule and joining us to share the glimpses of your profound knowledge and experience. I really congratulate Professor Sharma for taking India on the heights of DRR and climate change. And sir, I am very sure that with your significant contributions, India will achieve and establish a remarkable position at the global level. We are also the journey of Professor Sharma is highly inspiring, and we are sure that it motivates, and I'm very sure it motivates the early career researchers in the field of science and technology, in particular disaster management, climate change, and environmental sustainability. We are thankful to the attendees who took active participation in this session and detailed interaction with our guests, which makes it more interactive. Last but not the least, iLEAPS and UKCH and Future Earth for giving us opportunity to conduct this event. So at the last, I again thank Professor Sharma, and we are all enthralled and definitely look forward to your company again. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. The interview is recorded and I'll share it with all of you once I have it.
Thank you,
Thank you.
Samira.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks a lot.
Thank you.
God bless.
Thank you, sir.